Okay.
I think we can start as people gather in, let them hear whatever they missed through recording.
Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, visible. Visible.
Okay.
Clear.
Yeah. So can we go ahead, Paramaguru?
Yeah. Polandala.
Yeah,
Let's start.
nice and welcome for our webinar. This is going to be from up to 7:30. For 45 minutes, we will go through the presentation, and there will also be a few quizzes just so that we understand the overall understanding. So moving on to the next. Yeah. So this is Atal team. So Atal had been initiated in year 2014. And right now we have two divisions. One is education, another is agriculture. AG standing for agriculture. So EDU, what objectives is, like, one of them is education, and we always emphasize on research. In here, it is training and research. So research is one of our major thrust areas. So what we do here in education, like, we have a concept called evolution library. It is like a laboratory combined with library. So that's why it looks like a spelling mistake, where we focus on fundamental science and math, and we offer courses on that. The very objective of EDU is like to help create portfolio and then discover inherent talent. I'm one of them, who was also part of establishing this, and I also discovered my passion and love for nature and farming. And I'm myself right now a trainer and a practitioner of organic natural farming. And also over the period of 2.5 to 3 years, I've specialized in coconut cultivation. Okay, so that's why we say skill acquisition and livelihood. So agriculture, where we provide training and research for skill acquisition and livelihood. Right now, this is the main team which is working full time. That is Sangaran, Paramaguru, Athiyapan, and Shivakumar, supported by inclusive learning members. There are at least 150 of them. So a lot of gratitude, and very happy to know that we all, without this support, we could not have reached here. Yeah. So for our work over the period of time for education, this is the award we have been conferred. It's called Chimney Dheera Award, recognizing our efforts in fundamental science education. And this is an award confirmed by the Healer Bhaskar team for our work in science as well as like natural organic farming. So what drives us, or what is our core philosophy? We call it as the Atral Mantra. The first one is, we say, slow down, relax. So that is the first best way. Second is, do the best with what is available on hand. Generally, we always think, if only I have that, I will achieve that. Yes, that's fine. But we can always wish, but it's always good to do the best with what is available on hand, whether it is money, whether it is infrastructure, resources, friends, contact networks, whatever it may be. And third, this is something which we strongly believe. Little by little, day by day, what is meant to you shall find its way. All that we need is the belief and the patience and perseverance. Okay, so this is what has helped us along the way. So this is a general introduction to our Artral team and our core beliefs and where we work. Let me check out the chat window as well. There is some chat. Okay. My volume sound little bit. Okay. Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are clear. We can hear you very clearly. No
Okay.
issues on that.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So this I'll minimize it. So yeah. So these are the topics which we have in mind for today. Uh, so agriculture is the food and soil is the whole scope. So that's why we have all of these topics. So first of all, we begin with earth, and then we discuss about something called as plant succession, which is part of the soil. And once we have the plants, then we talk about food and energy needs. Once we have this, then we discuss about the significance of food for our human health. We call it the gut. And what makes the soil tick? Why we are focusing on soil? What are the importance of carbon? What are other nutrients? And what is the uh, role of soil microbes in all of these things? What makes soil microbes so significant? And we'll also spend a few minutes on what we understand or what we expect to be a crop expert. So overall, maybe 40 minutes is what we look for this. Okay. So Earth, first of all, our first topic is Earth. And Earth is composed of 70% water and 30% land. And of this 70, there is some ice on the caps. So now we have a little question. Okay, there is a poll one. Let me just go to that and see. This is the first time I'm using the poll, so let's see how the whole thing works. It's all very simple questions. Okay, so this is the question. I hope you all see the question. Just try to answer and yeah.
All participants and viewers are requested to answer the question. We're not gonna.
No grading. We don't know who is answering. Yeah, we just want to know the overall opinion.
So that it becomes interactive as well as okay. We do need a little kind of little amount of academic
Yeah.
essence in this, so that we can relate to our yeah, studies.
Okay, it's about a minute. I think 11 of us answered it. So I think 64% participation. Let's see. Let me end the. Are you able to see the? Yeah, somebody asked the question.
No. Somebody should have. So all participants, I'm kindly request you to mute the mics. Yeah, now you go. Go ahead.
Okay, let me see if I get the answers here. Yeah. Okay, so I will see view share results. Are you able to see the results? So maximum is gone for forest, and the next one is filled with weeds, and the next is desert, and the lowest is 9. And yes, let's see what exactly the world is talking about. Okay, so all of you are for me, you're able to see this result screen.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Love it.
Okay. So let's move on. Yeah. So this is plant succession, like relevant to the question, what happens over this whole time frame? If a barren land, which starts here with pebbles and rocks and only soil or dirt, it is called. So gradually you will have all these lichens and mosses coming, then small weeds, then you have some perennial weeds and shrubs. Shrubs now, the small plants, and then slowly you get, and finally you arrive at this peak tall growth, and it becomes a complete forest. This is provided no human being nor animal grazing is allowed. Okay, only if there is a minimum amount of rainfall, let's say 300 to 400 rainfall per year, that much will be sufficient, because one of the major driving factors required is moisture. So once we have little rainfall spread throughout the year, over a period, it will nature, or the soil will naturally, the barren land will naturally progress into a full-fledged forest. Okay. So it takes around 200 to 300 years to occur. That is minimum rainfall, and this we discussed. Okay. So now, as human beings, from here we should be lucky if automatically there are fruit trees, and here there are some vegetables. Imagine the nature is in such a way that, like, for every baby born, there is a plant automatically grown or a tree automatically grown. So like we don't have to go and do any agriculture, farming, anything. So we just do it. But nature is not like that. It wants all of us to put the best effort forward. Okay. So what are the things which are required so that we can compress this timeline? We all want it in less than a year, right? So we want it so fast. So what are the things that has to be added if we want to compress this 300-year timeline into a 3-month or a 1-year timeline? So that's what human beings always strive for. So first and most important is moisture. Okay, you have to have soil. The first one, we assume there is soil. You add a little moisture and wait for a little. Whatever seeds are there, they will anyway grow. So you can see slow growth without any intervention. Suppose if you want little faster growth, okay, then add a little mulch on top of it. Mulch means Tamil moodak solluvaanga. So you add a layer above it, so that your temperature within the soil is maintained. Once the temperature is maintained, it automatically makes way for microbes to start kicking. And then if you are like, we can also add microbes, because we can't wait for microbes to come in, because naturally microbes will evolve as time goes. But we want to do it in a very short period of time. So we human beings tend to add microbes. Then we also need organic matter. So we add manure to make it little faster. And we want it still faster, then we go and add minerals to the plants and the soil. So this is the order. So most important, first best thing is moisture. You still want to compress the time, add mulch. Still want to compress the time, add microbes. Still want to compress, add manure and organic matter. And still want to compress, add minerals. Okay, the minimum we do, that is what is called as do nothing farming. Okay, which was made famous by Masanobu Fukuoka of Japan. And also locally, Bhaskar Saveji. I just want to add a comment here about Bhaskar Saveji. There is a record that, like, when Mr. Masanobu Fukuoka of the One Straw Revolution visited India and visited Bhaskar Saveji's farm in Gujarat, he said this farm is one of the best that he has come across in the world. So that's a great honor, and it was happy. We visited and we felt very, very happy about it. Okay. So this is just a little technical thing which you can know of. Like for human beings, we have circadian rhythm. That's what they call, right? So during this period, this is what happens to us. During this period, this is what happens to us. Similarly, you have plants. They have a life cycle. Say 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. What do? They perform photosynthesis. Okay. This photosynthesis is a fantastic phenomena. What's happening is light from the sun reaches our Earth, planet Earth. If there are no plants on the soil, all of the light will be reflected back into the atmosphere, and the atmosphere will get heated up. So what these plants are doing is they absorb the sunlight, convert into glucose, which human beings, animals, and as in fruits like birds can have and stuff like that. And some of it are stored, the glucose or food that is generated. Imagine a light energy which is coming from the sun with other materials is converted into food, that is glucose, and higher order, say monosaccharides, polysaccharides, lipids, all those things are created. And beautifully 50% of them are taken to the roots, approximately 40 to 50% of them. Whatever is food is produced above the soil surface by the leaves, 50% is kept above the soil, and approximately 50% is put under the soil. Okay. So I always love to imagine this as like sunlight being taken and then hidden inside the soil. Okay, so that's what happens 8 a.m. to 5 a.m. Photosynthesis, like plants are converting the light energy from the sun into uh, um, like food, which can be used by living things on the earth. Then what does it do from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m.? It does all the sugar transport. So whatever was created, sugar, glucose, or food, they are transported from above soil parts to below soil parts. Then 3 a.m. to 8 a.m., what they do? They grow. Maybe this is one of the main reason why every day morning when we go and see, we see new leaves, new birds. Always, like we don't observe this happening during the daytime. It's observed in the early morning hours. Yeah. 1 second. Forgot to switch off my phone. Sorry for that. So we'll move on to the next. We'll have Q&A, a lot of time. So right now, observe what's happening. Okay, so now we spoke about Earth. And on Earth, we have plants which feed us. So now for the feed part, we are talking about the food. When we talk about,
One
yeah,
sec. There seems to be a kind of a green line over your screen. What's
yeah,
that? I could.
somebody
Yeah.
would have drawn on it because it allows annotation facility.
Okay. Please undo
Let
and
me.
make the toolbar disabled for the participants so that no accident will happen.
Hide names of a disable annotation for others. Okay, I've done that, but I don't know how to clear this, which is already done. If any, what shall you do? We'll proceed like this or
We
start.
can.
Yeah, maybe stop share and start share once again.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, it's good. I'll share screen again. Yeah. Back visible?
Now, now it's clear.
Yeah. So now there is food, and we always take a holistic approach. Though our current focus is on farming, we always take a holistic approach. So we ask ourselves this question: why do we do farming? So we need food. So what is the quality of food? What is the conversion? What is the time taken by the plants to grow? And what is the resilience? How much of effort is required to produce that food? So all of these things. So we have to understand the cultivation process, which means perennials or annuals. Perennials means they live beyond a year or like repeatedly produce food. Annuals means one time they grow and after that again we have to replant. Perennials you can think of as a coconut tree. Annuals you can think of like a tomato plant. So tomato plant, maybe it will live for 90 days to 120 days. Then again, you have to replant them. Then for cultivation, we should also think of whether those plants are seasonal. Say, for example, when you are having, say, let's take the example of mango, pomegranate, or any other kind of fruits like that. Most of them are seasonal, which means they yield only in a few days throughout the year. Okay. So then it will be kind of again regrowing, fruiting and all that, and you have to wait for one more year, which means we may not have food on the other time or should know a way of preserving them. So whereas when you look at the perennials, like the work is less, like you sow it once and it keeps on yielding for years together. Annuals, yes, you can kind of grow them in a very short duration, but you need to put a lot of efforts to kind of grow them. Okay. Then ease of cultivation. Okay. How easy or difficult to cultivate them. Say, for example, if you take, I want to grow, let's say, cauliflower in my farm in Coimbatore in this plains and in this weather. Imagine how easy or difficult it is. At the same time, imagine growing millets, say like ragi, kambu, or anything like that, or jawar, those things. So growing millets is much easier when compared to like growing anything else. Maybe even cucumber itself is challenging. Okay, there are some which are very easy, some which are really challenging. And we should also consider the amount of space that we have. Let's say if you're talking about having a kitchen garden, like you might probably have only the place near the sunshades or on the rooftops. This is one of the major criteria. So now we can ask the question, how much amount of space is required to grow vegetables for one family? People have analyzed throughout the globe and they have come up with a number. 400 square feet of space is sufficient for cultivating food for one family. Okay. So then we have to consider the requirement of light by the plants. Some of them require a lot of light. Because I work with coconuts, they love a lot of sunlight. And there are others which like partial sunlight, like pepper. And I don't know if there is anything which grows absolutely without light. There are some which we will discuss later, but it's not for full duration, but short period of time. And then what is the amount of water required to cultivate them? Say the example, again, when we go for bananas and then coconuts, we require a lot of water. But at the same time, when we take millets, it consumes negligible quantity of moisture. Okay. So first is cultivation, which we have to keep in mind. So that will drive us to go for appropriate cultivation or crop selection. What crop to select and what quantities to select. So that is one. And this is one of the major interesting areas. So let's say we have taken care of cultivation. Now it is the next step for preparing for consumption. Like all of us love to consume food. So the unprocessed and processed, there are two different communities. Unprocessed, you can always have fruits. That is the only thing which allow you to consume without making any change. Just cut it and eat it. But human beings are not done with that. You want to convert into a juice, put some ice and add with some milk. But most preferred now with the nature cure kind of health advisories, they recommend monofruits. Say for one-time food, consume similar fruits. Let's say if you're eating apple, only eat apple. If you're eating banana, only eat banana for one time. Next time, you can have a different fruit like sapota or whatever. Okay. So fruits, people always recommend because you can consume it as such and it is readily available for human consumption. So that's why we call it as unprocessed. Then comes processed. So what is the problem with fruits? Most of them, except for one of them is banana, which comes year-round. I don't recall of any other fruits, then you can get it year-round. Most of them are seasonal, you have to wait for it. And their shelf life is also very low. So it's very difficult to live only on fruits. Okay. So then human beings comes with this gathering concept, like storing concept, not even gathering, storing. So now processed, what are the ways in which you can do processing of food before consumption? One of the best things is sprouts. Okay. Then there is something called as microgreens. Then you have fermented food, you have dried food, then you have cooked food. And finally, for the past 30-40 years, you have something called as ultra processed food. Let's see one by one. What is the effort required in processing sprouts? Sprouts முளைக்கட்டுறது, முளைக்கட்டின பயிர்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ இதோட பியூட்டி என்னன்னா, you just need the seeds. You don't need sunlight. You need very less water. You don't even need soil. Okay. And in 24 to 48 hours, you have one of the most healthiest foods in the world right now. It's comparable to what is called as superfoods. Okay. Sprouts is the one of the best. 24 to 48 hours, no soil, very, very less water, and then no need for light also. So you can do it within a room. Okay, the next one is microgreens. So what is the difference between a sprout and a microgreen? The microgreen takes a little bit longer. It requires soil, it requires light, and it also requires a little more water than sprouts. Okay. So then you get into the fermented food regime. Okay. So what you do is, instead of sprouts, you cook them, which means you boil them and then ferment them, which means you keep it in a closed container for a day. Even in this, there are two ways, the idli type and the porridge type. Porridge is the simple kanji. இப்போ இட்லி டைப்ல என்ன பண்றோம்னா, like what we do is, like we first boil, first we ferment it, so we get the dough, which means it's all yeast, which are microbes, lot of microbes which process the food, convert into human consumable form. After that, when we heat it, we kill all of the microbes and retain only the nutrients which they have converted. Porridge is the other way. Like what you do, you take some grains, put it in water, heat it, so that you just kind of kill whatever microbes were there, and then you take it, leave it overnight, and what happens, the microbes which are there, which spread through the air, will come. They will start building up, converting the boiled contents into human available form, and then that is the porridge. So the difference, you directly consume nutrients as in idli dosa, and as in porridge, you directly consume most of it in the form of microbes itself. So we'll see why these two are like complementary, or what are the difference. So sometimes we eat only dried fruit. Now this is becoming famous because we cannot extend the lifetime of shelf life of fruits. We are getting dried bananas, dried mangoes, dried whatever. Okay, everything. And then we have to also consider the next expensive stuff is cooking. Okay. So we have a calculation of how much energy is consumed for cooking at all. Energy in terms of like gas, LPG gas that we consume, the amount of time that we consume, and the amount of cleaning that we do, the amount of what do you call, chemicals that you use for cleaning. It's a phenomenal area. So that is the regime of cooked food. Then there is something called as ultra processed food, which we'll also look at what is that and what is the impact. So then cultivation we discuss, and while considering agri, we should also consider preparation and also preservation. Like preservation, the meaning shelf life. So among these millets, legumes, greens, vegetables, coconuts, banana, fruit trees, these two, millets and coconuts, seem to be the kind of food that automatically have a very, very long shelf life. I recall one incident, like how people arrive at what food they consume. It was a visit to Sivasalam to Good Life Ashram. And I understood the founder asked this interesting question. What is that food that grows continuously throughout the year? And the second question he asked himself is, and that food, I don't want to steal it from birds or insects or anything else should not be able to consume it as such. So based on these two parameters, this founder of this ashram came up to experiment with consuming only coconuts, and seemed that he had lived for 25 years living only on coconuts. And plus he also added banana over in a later period of time for the taste and sugar and stuff like that. And banana incidentally also grows throughout the year. And similarly, you have millets, which grows throughout the year, very healthy. The greens, it grows fast, but again, shelf life is a cause of concern. And most of the grains you can't eat raw, like you have to convert and then consume. In that sense, vegetables as well, many vegetables you have to kind of cook it before consuming, but not all of them. Yeah. So these are the things which we have to consider for health. Health is dependent on food. So for food, all these three have to be taken into consideration. So now we just did a kind of little calculation of how much energy it takes in cooking. Say we just took a LPG cylinder, 1 kg. If you don't follow the numbers, it's fine. But just see some number, 13,000 calories, kilocalories, total weight. This is the total amount of calories. And generally, one family of 4 will have the gas available for approximately 45 days. From this, what is the human need? This is the average. 2,000 calories is what one person requires. So based on that, we calculated what is the amount of calories that are required during these 45 days. And interestingly, you see that 50%, okay, whatever we require as energy, 50% of has to be burnt. As in, like, we have to kind of drill petroleum, get it to our home, pay for it and burn it and increase the atmospheric energy. All that we do in the process of cooking. So this was a very, very interesting observation. Yes, somebody had a question?
No, they should have accidentally unmuted. You can
Okay.
unmute all and proceed the meeting. Webinar, sorry.
Okay, so we move on to the next. This was a very, very interesting thing. So apart from this, this is the energy as in like LPG that we consume. But if you think of the manpower that is spent, say most of the mother's time, say morning 2 hours, afternoon 2 hours, evening 2 hours. So 6 hours minimum is spent in like cutting, cooking and all that stuff. And at least half an hour to 1 hour is spent in like cleaning all the vessels before, after, and then a lot of chemicals. And I'm sure cleaning vessels consume much more water than any other activity at home, more than bathing, more than, I would say, cleaning or whatever activity you are involving. This, the amount of vessels that are utilized and the cleaning efforts and stuff like that. So now we spoke about the earth. We spoke about a little bit of plants, like how are they and what it takes. And now then we spoke about food and food conversion. So now we are saying why we have to kind of, what has happened over the period of years. In 1990s, people said, once the science part was like catching up, they said reduce fats, okay, one of them. And then this refined oils, the concept of refined oils came into existence. And what we understand, most of you have known now, but just for the context, I'm just repeating. People, because we know so much of science, they take oil which is extracted from oil wells, which is the remains after the petrol and diesel, etc. And then they add the texture, you want the emulsions, stabilizers, you name it, you have it. And then there is also, lately we in an exhibition, we found a company from Japan who asks, okay, what is the kind of taste that you want in your food? So you do whatever you want and later add this little chemical and you will get that kind of a taste in our mouth. Okay. It was so amazing. Okay. So this is one trend which happened in 1990s. And in 2000s, we kept up saying that please don't use sugar. Okay. And then there were sugar-free diets. And then third one is like protein diet. So people said you have high proteins. Technology wise, I attended one of the training in something called as recombinant DNA. So generally what do we do? If we want proteins, maybe we'll be asked to eat legumes or like egg or like meat. Okay. But our scientists and researchers are so intelligent. They identify bacteria which can grow proteins. And then inside the laboratory, inside that small conical flask and stuff like that, what do we seen in our chemistry labs? They create proteins using microbes, that is just using bacteria, and mostly the bacteria used is E. coli. Okay, So then the 2020s, we are talking about fibers, like more added fiber. So that's what people are saying. So what happens when we do all of these things? Okay. All of these things destroy microbes. Without microbes, all of these things are synthetic food which we are consuming. And then this has a phenomenal effect on our gut microbiome. So what is the meaning of gut microbiome is, let's say our body we are made of cells, let's say trillion cells. Each of the cells seem to have at least 10 microbes. You can imagine bacteria, which is very, very, very small one. We'll show us a few videos of how bacteria look like and few of the microbes look like. So we have microbiome, and microbiome seems to be the one which drives our health. So now let's have a poll. Okay. So what are the reasons for obesity? Okay. Most of us feel bad about obesity. So let's see. Let's have a poll. And I go back. Do I have that? Yes. Yeah. So there's a minute. What is the most important reason for obesity? Lack of exercise, lack of willpower, consuming a lot of calories. Yeah, so 14 of 20 had participated, so maybe another 5 more seconds. Okay, I'll end the poll. Okay, share results. Are you able to see the results? Like lack of exercise, 13%, willpower, nobody has clicked, ultra processed food, 63%, and consuming a lot of calories, 25%. And the answer seems to be like what most of you understand, it is consumption of ultra processed food. So the reason that the scientists say is, like when we eat normal sugar, we put it in the tongue, and this tongue sends the taste to the stomach and the small intestine and the large intestine. And in stages, people prepare themselves. Let's say inside the stomach, you need so much amount of acid which has to produce. The number is alarming. I don't know, like they say it's around 2 liters of HCl is produced in hydrochloric acid is produced inside our stomach every 24 hours. Alarming. Anyway, so depending upon the food at different stages in stomach acid and in the lower and small and big intestine, the microbes which are responsible for converting them, they are given an alarm and they all get prepared. Okay, I'm getting the food and I'm ready for the job. Okay, so what happens is, if you are not eating proper sugar and you are eating sugar-free food, it will taste in your mouth like sugar, but the food that goes inside is not the food for all those people who are already there. So they get disappointed. Maybe that is the emotion that we can keep. But you can imagine what happens to the all other part of the body where like hormone secretion, everything has happened. Everything will get into a chaos. And this seems to be the most important reason why we kind of lost health. And this trend seemed to have started from 1970 onwards. Okay. And another interesting research paper by Royal Institution, it's available in YouTube. It's a beautiful lecture. They say there are 6 companies which produce ultra processed food, and they make most of the money, and they cause a lot of health problems. And these are the same companies which also invest into pharma and medicine. Okay. Amazing loop, isn't it? Anyway, yeah. So that's about it. So this gives us an idea. So not having the food available is not the only thing. Excess consumption of ultra processed food. Yeah. So how much more time do we have? Okay, another 15 minutes and then we can go for a discussion. Yeah, so there is something called as like how do we keep our gut microbe properly then? What kind of food are very good? Say like we discussed in consumption, like eat fruits directly as possible. Next best thing is sprouts. Okay, we discussed why and what. Next best could be microgreens. Then finally you can go for the porridge, and then you can go for the cooked part. Okay, and try to avoid is the only thing which we can say, because most of what we get right now in supermarket are all ultra processed food. So this is one of the reasons why we are focusing on agri, like producing healthy food, nutritious food will keep the gut microbiome healthy. If gut is healthy, our whole body is healthy. We will take one more poll. Yeah. What is considered to be the main reason for a person to have depressive feelings? We have 15 more seconds. Yeah, I think most of us have participated. 90% participation. Okay, so let's end the poll. Yeah. So you can see the results now. So what we all of us believe, unable to accept reality, 32%. Yeah, this is the emotional part. This can be addressed by kind of following pranayama, meditation, and stuff like that. Hormone imbalance, yes. Why this and this are happening? Because the sole reason seems to be microbes in the body. The current research on microbiome says we as human beings, we are driven by the microbes which are inside the body. So the healthier healthier the quantity and diversity of microbes in our body, which is in the gut, in the brain, throughout the cells, that's what determines the health. And I'm so surprised, like why nobody chose fate or karma. Interesting. Okay, fine. So microbes, they are the ones who are responsible. And there was an interesting research paper which says reasons for depression and suicidal instinct. Okay. Most of us goes through the sea. Nature is built like that. Whatever we wish will not be available at the same moment or the same day or even the same year or even in the same lifetime. Okay. That's how nature is structured. But we generally, if it is not acceptable to us, if our wishes are met, then we say we are depressed. It could be with a friend, it could be the money, we should be with whatever resources possible. But the researchers, what they have found across people who met with this is I'm just stating what the document said. Okay, almost today's documents you have to read between the lines. That's why I'm stating the words. How did they arrive at this conclusion? The reason for depression, suicidal instincts, one microbe called Toxoplasma gondii. Okay, that's the name of the microbe, has been linked to depression and suicidal tendencies. So what they did was they studied people who attempted suicide, because attempting suicide requires tremendous amount of guts, like the confidence and lack of fear and all this. People thought how they can be like this, and they found that there were in all most of the people, okay, which means it is statistically correct. They had this microbe inside the body. People who met with an highway accidents, like they drove a car or did whatever, or like they were hospitalized due to kind of suicidal attempts and stuff like that. Okay, this is an amazing discovery. Say like this for health also. So there are many associations and researches which are happening. So this, once you understand, once we get to understand that microbes are driving our decisions, our life and everything, then this is the world of prebiotics and probiotics. Okay. So what they do, you would have heard, okay, this is a probiotic drink, have it. One of the best probiotics which we know is yogurt, curd, buttermilk. Okay. we directly put in the microbes. Why this probiotic market opened up? And we are talking about only yogurt and buttermilk, and maybe there are a very few. Why are we kind of talking about that? It's because our vegetables and fruits, they have lost all of their nutrients, okay, because of chemical and toxic farming. Once we follow organic and natural methods of cultivation, you automatically get all of these microbes, beneficial microbes that gets into our body when we consume them in proper form. Like you either make a sprout, a microgreen, or like make a porridge. So like that, fermented. So without adding heat and destroying what was already there, you just consume it as such. We will have the most healthy body. Okay. So because of this non-inorganic and non-natural practices, we have gone into this one, probiotics. So what is the meaning of prebiotic? Probiotic is we consume microbes directly. In prebiotics, we consume what we consider as good food for the microbes inside our intestine. Okay. One of the example which I can read right now is they extract that from the banana peel. Okay. When we peel a banana, you get one small string kind of a thing, right? So those strings, they seem to have a lot of fiber. And this is the market in which like the fiber companies are capitalizing on it. They say, okay, there is more fiber. Okay. So let's move on. Yeah. So now we have understood, okay, what is the significance of food, significance of plants, how to convert them, and then we have to farm them on soil. Okay, farming on soil seems to be the best. Okay, and there are different methods to improve the soil. There is a poll. It's a very simple poll. Let's take that. Yep. What is the required organic carbon in soil for growing healthy? Healthy means disease-free and nutritious plants. Yeah. Okay. So 92% think greater than or equal to 3%. Yes. So what we understand is once we have the carbon content, which is more than 3% in our soil, our plants will be very, very healthy, which means insects cannot come and attack the plants like whatever we call the white flies and the suckers, then most of them, okay, except for biting, that also biting insects, okay, not that what do you call? I'm not getting the name. Pulunu solluvaanga Tamilla. They all can't touch the plant. So that is the science and research that we have come for. So what we strive is to see how to increase the organic carbon quickly more than 3%. So how fast we can do it. Okay. And what are the different methods? That what we are going to see now. So now that we understand the carbon content in the soil is the most important, what are the different ways? Okay, you grow plants, right? So once you grow plants, plant has a biomass on top as well as in the bottom, below the soil as roots. Then if you want things to happen much faster, you take the solid forms. You have compost, vermicompost, farmyard manure, and biodynamic methods in which you can prepare solid parts, which means from the plant materials, animal manures, etc., and put it in the soil to increase the organic content. So next method, which is used, is all fermented methods. and bokashi from Japan. Jadam is a fermented process from Korea. Jivamridam, Panchagavya, etc. from India. Bioenzyme, I think it is from Thailand, but I don't know where it was discovered first. This bioenzyme. Then there is a concept called biosalts. on which there is one, if people are interested, you can look for Supermago, where like they combine both the fermentation, microbial, as well as chemical, all three in one place, and that also seems to work. Then other way of, and why liquid? It is very easy to apply. That is the main advantage. Okay. So you can put it through the irrigation, but if you have it as solid, we have to go and physically distribute. So either way is okay, or a combination is also okay. It depends upon the agronomy and how fast and what resources we have in which way we go. And other things are there, which is a biochar, which seems to be the longest living organic carbon, which can be in the soil, which doesn't get converted into CO2. Then we have humic acid, then we have seaweed. Then another thing is CVR. This is one soil-based technique which was invented and patented by an Indian. I think he comes from Andhra. It's itself is called a CVR technique, you can see. He just uses soil to kind of improve the soil. It's amazing, okay? It's a recursive loop. Beautiful way of doing it. So many ways to choose from. So this we can choose based on our, again, time, money, resource available. These are the things which we will be kind of understanding and doing in our iFarmer and Crop Expert program. And one thing which I found interesting is all of them are told that if you keep trees, you plant trees, you get rain, right? And even people say the trees have the ability to like take the microbes to the cloud and then help nucleate the water molecule. Okay, from water, just H2O molecules, it nucleates into water droplets. Okay, but this man Jnana Prakasam, though he's very interesting. Like he's been in this for almost 15 to 20 years. What he says seems to be very close, but I'm not able to put my finger and say yes exactly because I've not physically seen it. But he's doing quite some work. It's very interesting. Like maram vecha mattu mala varadu. You have to do something else also. Amazing. So people like this one, the person who is taking tremendous lateral approach and the CVR technique. And even within this, we can see each one has a different perspective. And most important here we have to understand is once we have carbon, we understood the importance. Then there is also nitrogen. You would have heard about carbon-nitrogen ratio, which is very, very important. Please keep thinking, and maybe we can take up this in the Q&A session. Why is C is to N ratio very, very important? The number also is given around 18 to 20 is to 1. So move on to the next. I think we are almost at the end. Okay, now we talk about soil. Okay, we came from top, from the earth, the food, the importance, the microbes, everything, and now we are talking about soil. Okay, our soil basically consists of sand, silt, clay, and in very simple terms, what do they mean? You call it a sand if it's based on the size, like 0.05 millimeter to 2 millimeter. This is from here 0.005 to 0.002, 2 microns. So anything less than 2 microns is clay. And you can see that once it is clay, you can see it becomes like a tile and all the other things are like granules. Okay. So that's why if there is a lot of clay, it doesn't allow water to go through. But there is a combination which is very effective. We have to understand by properly handling and understanding the role of clay, the sand, and the silt, and you can manipulate or like use appropriate strategies to improve the soil aggregate and convert them into a soil sponge. And this conversion happens. What people say is microbes help converting all of these things into soil aggregates, which means they look like a soil sponge, which means they are home for microbes. They absorb and retain a lot of moisture. They also absorb and retain a lot of minerals, which means your plants can sustain for a longer period of time, whether there is a heavy rain or like there is a long duration of drought. So this is another area which we have to understand and spend some time on how do we improve the aggregates of the soil. And now about nutrients and minerals. So all of us have a question. Okay, I have to go and buy all this minerals, everything, and then keep applying it. Okay, so this slide is basically to remove that myth. So you can see here 97.5% comes from carbon dioxide, which is a gas. CO2 gas, NO3 gas, H2O is water. Here again, H2O is gas, sorry, H2O is water or water vapor. This is gas, and nitrogen comes from gas, N2 directly from the atmosphere. Okay, so this is amazing. So 97.5% comes either from the atmosphere or from water, right? So of the 2.5% remaining, 2% comes from these elements, say magnesium, potassium, and all. So these 5 elements, that too you can see the percent, 0.2 minuscule. And 0.5% is like all the other boron, chlorine. Like people say you add boron that much, this much. So what is the major problem? Once we understand that everything is in the atmosphere, that's why our natural and organic farmers say everything is there. All you have to like create the environment. So what is the problem with chemical farming? This is the first one. We really don't know what the plant needs, which means the deficiency and toxicity limits. In Tamil, they'll say, "Alavukku meerinal amrutham nanjagum." That's more apt. If a specific chemical is little less, it creates a problem. If it's a little more, it's a problem. How do we know this is the most appropriate quantity and at that point of time? Because we saw the plant cycle where it does different things in different days of the time. Like morning, it does a different job. Evening, it does a different job. Early morning, it does a different job. So this is one, knowing the limit. So what happens if we put extra? Because we always have the habit, okay, add a little more so that it will compensate. But the problem is it leaches into the soil and into the water, and it makes all our salt, lake water, river water, and sea water more chemical dominated. And what is the plant dependent upon while uptake of these nutrients? There is something called as pH, and that is something called as EH. These are the things which we have to understand, and then how these can be taken care of. I am now coming to this one, very interesting. It's a question. Predator prey, you will see they are available on land, okay? They are available underwater. Do you think they are available under the soil also? And if so, in what forms? Okay, this was an interesting question we asked. But from philosophical perspective, we always ask, why did nature want to be so cruel, right? Because nature creates the living things, and none of us can die peacefully. Maybe human beings now have found the science of like protecting under the walls and medicines and rooms like that. Otherwise, like whatever is in the open, most of them are succumb to as a prey to some or the other predator. Okay, so let's see what's in the soil. Yeah, so the soil food web, there is again a huge predator prey system which is happening under the soil. Okay, this was made famous by Dr. Elaine Ingham in 1986 around. That is when people understood this predator prey system under the soil is the most important thing which contributes to the health of the plants. Okay, and plants know what they need. It's amazing to know that the seed contains the gene, and the gene tells what fruit it has to grow, how tall it has to grow, how many leaves it has to shed, how many fruit it has to yield. All of these things is there programmed inside the gene. And also the understanding is whatever the microbe is required for that plant to grow is already packed into the seed. So how does microbe come to life? That's why you say soak the seed before sowing. When you soak it, and there is also an average time. How does the seed know when it has to germinate and when it should not? It looks like most of the seeds, I'm not saying all of them, most of them, there is a 15-minute timeline until which if you are keeping it under moist conditions, then it will say, okay, looks like my environment is ready so I can grow. Okay, so this could be the clue for sprouting, or like if you're going to do a seed treatment with some liquid, you should not allow it to soak more than 15 minutes. So these kind of, all these scientific parts will be kind of, we have to understand so that we can effectively grow our plants. So you can see here, this bacteria, fungi, nematodes, these are the major predator prey stuff, okay, and also protozoa, right? So what happens is the sign says the protozoa eat the bacteria. When it eats the bacteria, bacteria contains all the nutrients that the roots have, and it will directly fall on the roots, and through the roots, the plant will absorb. Okay, this is the science. And now in the reverse, what do I say when I say plants know what they need? Plants are the one which is picking the sunlight from the sun, converting into sugar. And what sugar depends upon what stage of growth this plant is. That one it gives into the roots, and that roots give it to the microbes, which means, let's say it needs potassium. It will, uh, uh, it is called an exudate. Okay, that is the word they use. That will prepare that specific exudate, put it into the soil through the roots, and when it is available around the roots, these microorganisms are cultivated around that place, maybe phosphorus fixing bacteria, potassium fixing bacteria, depending on the stage of growth, and that's how they grow. Once this bacterial population comes is there, then their predators come, consume them, poop it, and that poop is what is the most important nutrient for the plants. Okay, so let's just have a look at few of them. I think we are close to time. One more slide. Let's see how a honey looks like. Okay, this is just out of, not for microbes. I just wanted you to know like how a drop of honey looks under microscope. Okay, just one drop. All these things what you see here, they're all the pollens from different flowers and plants. Okay, this is amazing. Okay, so why pollens are of different shapes, sizes, some with spikes, some of them can float in water, some of them in air, and some of them can even kind of go through the wind and have hook onto the animals. Okay, so this is something about horse manure. How does a horse manure look like? So these are the kind of microbes which I see under the horse manure. It is said that like if your septic tank is full of kind of full, add some horse manure and it will kind of remove the contents. This is how these are the small, we can't even see in visible eyes, such a small one. So if you want to understand the size of these things, this is 1/100th of our human hair diameter. Okay, so that you can visualize, right? So then we see bioenzyme and okay. Bioenzyme, like you would have heard a lot and many of you might be making, because most of you attending will be from the sustainable lifestyle. So this is how it looks like. One drop. This was taken with a low molecular microscope, but anyway, it gives an idea. There are yeast. The black small ones are bacteria, and this one you will call it as yeast, and many of them, and tons of them. Yeah. And then of course fungi. This is a creature, like you can see, this brown. This is only 3 microns, 4 microns width. Okay, so such small one. You can't see all these things with visible eyes, but these are the most important people which are responsible for creating aggregates in the soil. And second role these people play is the predators when they consume them. These are all nutrient rich, which are actually given to the plant roots. And then these are things which I want you to see, which happens under the soil, the predator systems. So far you saw bacteria and fungi. Now you will see the kind of predator. This we would have heard about in school, right? Naked amoeba. It oozes out like that and goes and consumes mostly bacteria, whatever comes on its way. Okay, and then poops out the nutrients for the plant. So these are the things which we look for and then monitor. Okay, then I would also wish to show you another one. You can see the kind of cyclone that happens under our feet. Okay, if moisture, sufficient moisture is there. You see there? Such a miniature one, micron level. Again, like say 1/20th of the size of our hair, and it creates such tornadoes inside that small space. Okay. Then I'll show you one more. 1 second. So yeah, this is another fascinating one. Sorry, I think I picked the same. Okay, I think it's a wrong link. Anyway, We'll go to nematodes. These are other predators. Okay. So all these are predators. Nematodes are also predators. This more looks like a snake, very small snake, invisible to our eyes. This one, this is how it looks like, and they are all in the soil. They are all responsible for nutrient cycling. And now there is one myth most in the farmers where we have discussed this, like any nematode is harmful. So our people generally have the habit of going and killing everything. Okay. But only less than 1% of the nematodes are harmful. All the remaining are highly beneficial. So what we do is like try to grow those beneficial nematodes, beneficial protozoans. So they cycle the nutrients for us, and plant will, we just create an environment. So like plants will do what they want to do and what they like to do. Yeah, so that's about it. For additional details, like we have a 1-year iFarmer program which is coming up, where we wish like people specialize in one crop. Some of them we can do it within a year. Some of them may take 5 years. Okay, because each crop minimum I'm saying we need to experience it 3 times. Only then we get to understand like when will it grow, how many stems, how many leaves, what insects, when will it bud, when will it kind of produce, kind of whether it's pollinated, self-pollinated. So many questions are there, the pests and diseases and so many parameters. So that's why like with all this comprehensive experience of like handling the microbe, handling carbon, handling soil, so this is the course that we're going to offer. Okay, so with that, I stop my, and also we have a WhatsApp group, which will be sharing the link in the chat. So you can, those who click on it can join our WhatsApp group for notifications. Okay, that's something I'll be doing now. Open to questions. I think it is 7:12. We have 15 more minutes. If you have any questions, I'm willing to take it. Thank you. Paramaguru, over to you.
Yeah, I'm here. Glad. Most of the participants are from Tamil background only. அதனால எவ்வளவு பேர் இருக்காங்க? 16 பேர் இருக்கிறாங்க. ஏதாவது கேள்விகள் இருந்தா கேட்கலாம். இல்லைங்கிற பட்சத்துல okay, we'll wait for some time. Any questions or curiosities, doubts, critique, ஏதாவது இருந்தா you can let us know. We are very grateful for those questions, doubts or any critics. Okay. அதுக்கு போறதுக்கு முன்னாடி ஏன் வந்து சாயில் இருக்க மைக்ரோப்ஸ் தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும்? Why we started from there to here? Of course, by right now you would have gathered a whole picture of what being presented in this past 1 hour. நம்மளோட பாடி நல்ல மைக்ரோப்ஸ் வேணும் அப்படின்னா, இல்ல ஹெல்தியா இருக்கணும் அப்படின்னா, அது எங்க இருந்து ஆர்ஜின் ஆகுதோ அங்க இருந்து ஹெல்தியாவே வந்தாகணும், ரைட்? நடுவில் அதை பிடிச்சிட்டு அதை ஆட் பண்ணி இதை ஆட் பண்ணி, அஃப்கோர்ஸ் இட் கேன் பி ஆட் அண்ட் பீப்புள் ஆர் ஆடிங், தட்ஸ் நோ டவுட் ஆன் தட். பட் the cost of adding, the time takes to add that, the effort takes to add that is phenomenal. It's very huge. Rather than that, let's do something very simple at the same time effective, so that a healthy food reaches us, that cultivates healthy physique, healthy mind. That's the approach we take in iFarmer. It's an 1-year online program where we designed or curate the course like a person, 1 year with one crop makes a specialization, and all that essential things needed for that specialization, tools shall be guided through iFarmer. That's the thing which I want to convey right now. Any questions? We are open to questions, doubts. We'll wait for a few more minutes, then we can end up the session. Thank you. Over
Hi,
to
Anu.
you. Hi, Da.
I
Please go ahead.
thought iFarmer event பார்த்தோன்னா ஐ தாட் இட்ஸ் லைக் எப்படி ஒரு பிளான் பண்ணணும், அதுக்கு என்னென்ன ஃபர்டிலைசர்ஸ் போடணும், அதுக்கு ஆர்கானிக்கா எப்படி பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி தருவீங்க அப்படின்னு நினைச்சேன். பட் இட் வாஸ் ஃபேசினேட்டிங் டு நோ இவ்வளோ பெரிய சயின்ஸ் இருக்கா இதுக்கு பின்னாடி அப்படின்னு தோணுது. அண்ட் மை கொஸ்டின் இஸ் லைக் இப்போ ஒரு கிராப் எடுத்தோம் அப்படின்னா அதுக்கு தேவையான நியூட்ரியன்ட் நீட்ஸ் என்னென்ன நீட்ஸ் இருக்கும், சாயில் நீட்ஸ் என்ன, அந்த மாதிரி எல்லாமே சொல்லி தருவீங்களாண்ணா?
எஸ் எஸ், அதாவது சொல்லி தருவோம் அப்படிங்கிறத விட இப்போ வந்து லெட்ஸ் சே ஐ டேக் கோகனட்டுக்கு நீங்க கேட்டீங்கன்னா ஐ வில் டெல். So that's why we are looking at a community. So let's say 100 crops, we just need 100 people. We know what is the overall approach to take. So each one analyzes and says, okay, let's say you take a tomato. I'll ask you, okay, what are the varieties, when it will flower, and everything is available on the net today. IA is there, internet is there, TNAU portal is there. Only thing is, we those data, if it comes into the human mind, and we can do that collaboration, that can be the best. So that's the idea.
Yeah. It was amazing, sir. It was amazing to know. And I don't know why is carbon nitrogen ratio important. Could you please tell me that?
Wow. Okay, you remember that. Nice. Okay. See, nature somehow wants to identify the difference between a young plant. See, sometimes I'll get a little philosophical so that it's easy to understand. Okay. How does it identify it's a young plant or an old plant? Young plant means they need a lot of nitrogen. As they grow older, their body also improves, which means carbon as the base structure also is more. So there is much more carbon in it. Okay. Let's say if you take bacteria, the smallest of the one, the ratio is around 5:1. Let's say human beings and protozoans and most of the predators, we are at 30:1, 25:1 to 30:1. That's where we are placed. When you take humic acid, okay, humus, they will say no repeatedly. They have 500:1, which means for every 500 carbon, there is 1 nitrogen. Okay. Similarly, different stages of wood. If you take a new stem, it may be 60:1. If you have a very old tree, it will be again 200, 300:1. Okay. So it's nature's way of like, what do you call, either to differentiate the microorganism or the maturity. Okay. So this is why carbon nitrogen ratio is important. And in the soil, because most of the predators in the soil are around 20:1 carbon nitrogen ratio, you need food which is appropriate to it. This is one. And most population is bacteria in the soil. There are billions and billions. You take 1 gram of soil, there are billions of bacteria in it. So what do they consume? Again, their food is based on CN ratio. Bacteria cannot consume food which is more than, let's say, 50:1. They need much lesser. So what is the problem with bacteria? When they consume, okay, they don't have the concept of poop. They just reproduce. They multiply. In the process of multiplication, they generate heat. That is why if the CN ratio is too small, bacteria will flourish, which means there is so much of heat which is generated above 30 degrees, even it goes up to 70, 80 degrees centigrade, which means the root will die. Okay, so that's why you cannot put direct greens onto the soil. That's why you say you make a put farmyard manure, which is manure, which is aged. So these are the reasons. Yeah. Hope it clarifies.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, lot of mathematics அப்புறம் இதா
Science,
இருந்திருக்கலாம்.
chemistry, yeah.
Yeah, mathematics, chemistry, physics, biology involves. பட் இந்த ஒரு வருஷம் அப்படிங்கிறது இத ரொம்ப தெளிவா விலாவரியா ஹேண்ட்ஸ் ஆன் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸோட படிக்கிறதுக்கான ஒரு தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறதுக்கான ஒண்ணுதான். அப்புறம் ஒய் லாட் ஆஃப் மேத்ஸ், இந்த கேள்வி வந்துகிட்டே இருக்கும். ஒய் லாட் ஆஃப் மேத் அப்படிங்கிற கேள்வி அண்ட் எக்ஸ்பர்டைஸ் அப்படின்னு சொல்றோமே, அது எதுல இருந்து வருது? most of the expertise comes from the experience. For 50 வயசு பர்சனை பார்த்துட்டு எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ்ட் ஃபார்மர் அப்படின்னா எக்ஸ்பர்டைஸ் அப்படிங்கிற வார்த்தையும் யூஸ் பண்றோம். ஒய்? ஏன்னா he gathered enormous amount of data over his lifetime. No, இப்போ நம்ம டே டு டே லைஃப்ல அவ்வளவு டேட்டா வந்து பர்சீவ் பண்ணிக்கிட்டே இருக்கோம். அதுல இருந்து கொஞ்சத்தை எடுத்து அதை வேல்யூ பண்ணி அதை நாலேஜா மாத்துறதுக்கு we are struggling a lot. தென் இந்த கிராப் இருக்குல்ல, ஒவ்வொரு நாளும் ஒவ்வொரு விஷயங்கள் கொடுத்துக்கிட்டே இருக்கும். இந்த டேட்டாவெல்லாம் கலெக்ட் பண்றதுக்கு we are having a software, and with that software we are planning separate cloud storage. அதுல இருந்து we will derive exactly what the plant needs, or what the plant is trying to say to us. So அதை வந்து we'll get to know as the courses go. இது ஒண்ணு. அப்புறம் இப்படி யோசிச்சு பாருங்க, ஒரு கம்யூனிட்டி ஃபார்ம் பண்றோம், 100 people with 100 different crops and 100 different specialization. Then at the end of the year we have 100 expertise in 100 crops. So அப்படி இருக்கிறப்போ we can form or we can how to say, we can kind of revolutionize the society which thinks as an agricultural farming as an break bone job அப்படிங்கிற நினைக்கல கொஞ்சம் மாத்தலாம். அதுக்கான சின்ன இதுதான் அந்த lot of science numbers வரும்போது we will quantify things, and quantification always gives a kind of clarity in our approach. So we go with measurement most of the times from science background. So that's the thing which I want to convey about the course. Any other question? We will take we have 5 more minutes. Any other questions?
சார் வணக்கம், நான் ஜனார்தனன். வணக்கம் பாலா சார்.
வணக்கம், சொல்லுங்க
சார்.
ஜனார்தனன், பொள்ளாச்சி.
எஸ் சார்.
யா, ஐ ரிமெம்பர்.
சார். சார் நீங்க சொல்றது பாத்தீங்கன்னா அப்ப அதை வந்து மக்க வச்சு தான் கொடுக்கணும்னு சொல்றீங்க, கரெக்டா? கரெக்ட்?
எஸ், யூ ஆர் அப்சல்யூட்லி ரைட்.
இல்ல கிரீனா கொடுத்தா இட் வாண்ட் அக்செப்ட் அப்படின்னு சொல்றீங்க இல்லையா?
won't accept இல்லைங்க சார். கிரீனா போட்டோம்னா பாக்டீரியா நிறைய வளரும். பாக்டீரியா நிறைய வரும், அந்த இடம் சூடாகும். சூடாச்சுன்னா அங்க வேர் இருக்க முடியாது. தட்ஸ் வை லைக் அவர் ancestors they have the concept of ஆற போடுறது. சாயில வந்து ஆஃப்டர் தே லைக் லெட்ஸ் சே பலதானியம் they put no, they grow, then they plow and then leave it for some time for the heat to kind of come down. Yeah.
Okay sir.
And people who know this art, they know exactly. இப்போ வந்து we can also add directly sugar to the plant roots, but it should be very very less quantity.
Okay.
If you know, you know what is the deficiency toxicity limit. Yeah.
அதுக்கு கண்டுபிடிக்க கஷ்டம் தானேங்க.
இல்ல, that's what this science and experiment and research that we are doing. See, we know if I'll ask you a simple question. So many farmers, if you ask whether to put 10 tons of farmyard manure or 12 tons of farmyard manure and why, most people don't know. They just follow religiously.
Yes.
So all that we calculate now. Now we have the ability to calculate the amount of manure required, amount of microbes that are required, what balance of what microbes have to be there. All that science part has been fixed up right now, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sundaramanna, I think is from Nallur Vattam Mannava.
Sir. Ama.
Wow, thank you so much. It has been a great honor for you to be here. I want to introduce you to others also. And Sundaramanna is the coordinator or who takes responsibility for natural and organic farming movement as part of Nallur Vattam, who are doing phenomenal work throughout Tamil Nadu for now with thousands and thousands of students across 99 disciplines. Yeah, and Sundaramanna handles the farming division. Anna, you would like to share a word or two?
Yes, actually it is a very useful program. We do natural farming with our ancestors' knowledge, but today we hear from you with the presentation of something like a research way. So how the under the soil is happening. So it's a good news, a good way of scientific approach. We can join together to explore more in natural farming. Hope with hands together, we can meet more natural farmers to sustain in their approach. Yes, thanks. Thank you for this opportunity. We continue together.
Thank you, Sundaramana. Thank you so much. It was an honor that you are here. Just now I saw your name. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so I think we are up to time. Parmu, can we all say thank you?
Yeah, we have 5 more minutes. However, we will stay 1 more minute together.
Okay.
Any more question we'll take, else we say a warm boy to Sunday evening and welcome the cozy summer night.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Okay.
Yes, somebody wanted to say something? Yeah, there are 2 people who have raised
நான்
hand.
ஒரு கொஸ்டின்
Yes.
கேட்கலாமா?
Yeah, please.
இல்ல இந்த சீடு வந்து முளைக்குதுல அதுல பிஹைண்ட்ல இதுல என்ன சார் நடக்குது? அதாவது இப்போ நீங்க சொன்னீங்கல்ல அது வந்து அதுக்கான தேவை எல்லாமே இருக்குங்கிறத எப்படி சென்ஸ் பண்ணுது?
Okay. See, human beings,
அதோட
I'll give
அட்மாஸ்பியர்
you
வந்து
a,
கரெக்டா இருக்குங்கிறது.
I don't know if I understood your question. Let's say we are human being, we are born. Most of us physically look like a combination of either our mother or father. And our behavior also comes from them. Where does that come from? Because it's just that sperm and ovary combination. It's in the gene. It's called the gene, which is called the rule book. As much as humans have a rule book, every seed, every plant has a rule book. From that rule book, they know what next steps to take. That is the simplest answer I could say.
அதுக்கான அட்மாஸ்பியர் வந்துருச்சு அப்படிங்கறத எப்படி அது சென்ஸ் பண்ணுது? அதாவது நம்ம ப்ரோகிராமிங்
moisture first thing is moisture.
Okay.
See, water, that's the beauty of water. Okay, water has the ability to penetrate and then give that signal. And one of the main thing which we look at water is because of its pH and polarity. That's more of science. The pH level, what is a pH actually? It needs to have ions, hydrogen ions or OH minus ions. These ions, if the atom is neutral, somebody cannot know. But these are charged particles. Okay, so that is the beauty of water. That's why water is the elixir of life. Water's polarity, which means it's charged, and the availability of ions, which is measured as pH. These are the 2 things with which a seed will know whether it can germinate or not.
அப்ப கிட்டத்தட்ட தூக்கத்துல இருக்கிறத எழுப்புறது மாதிரி தான்.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Sneha, you had some question?
No, sir.
Okay, I saw a raised hand. Okay, fine. Okay, all. The link for the WhatsApp chat is pasted. The link is pasted in the chat. Those who wants to know the notifications can please join that. And with that, yeah, Paramu, from my side, thank you so much for your kind audience.
Okay. Most of the people whom register have attended. Okay, few participants said due to some situation they couldn't attend. For them, I'll share the recording and I'll share the recording with the participants through the email with a drive link. You can view or recall the points which were told in the webinar. Thank you so much for all who joined. I'll see you soon as a growing
community.
Yes.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Meeting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.